Howdy, friends, and welcome to The Story Field. This is a podcast where we talk about business, faith, and life in general.
Okay, so here's the deal. We want you to be encouraged. We want you living in hope. This life we live is complex. It's hard at times. At The Story Field, you will find great stories of normal people just like us who will inspire you. Our goal is that you leave encouraged, inspired, and excited to move forward in life. But before we get started, one thing though, if you're listening and you find yourself really hopeless right now, send us an email at hope@thestoryfield.com so we can pray for you. Thanks for joining us today. Let's get started.
Hey, Storyfield. Man, I know I say this a lot on the intros, but I'm honored, man, Aaron Young, to have you on today. You have one of the most powerful stories, and we've done a lot of these, but one of the most powerful stories I've heard. Powerful stories of hope. So I'm really grateful you made time to be here today.
Oh, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, can I ask you a hard question to start?
Yeah, let's just jump in.
All right. I mean, that's what
we're going to do, right?
Let's go to the deep end.
Yep.
Can a marriage recover from an affair?
Well, from my story, 100% the answer would be yes. But obviously not every story ends up that way.
Okay.
But yes.
And I think somebody needed to hear that. Like, I think somebody needed to hear in the middle of broken marriage and horrible events happening that your story says hope. And that's why I want you here.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
But for the story field, we usually don't start right now. I want you to take us back. And I want to hear like about childhood. I mean, we want to hear the story.
All right.
But piece it together.
Yeah,
Start in Missouri.
Yeah, I'll kind of start off and walk you through it. And, there may be a few pauses as I'm trying to collect myself, but we'll go through it. So born in February of 1974, Springfield, Missouri. James and Ellen Young are my parents. So grew up in a home, not a Christian home to start by any means. But I learned early on to avoid pain meant to avoid conflict, specifically with my dad. So grew up in a home where I would say it was a fairly violent home, specifically towards me, not so much to my sister as much, although she got the brunt of some of it. And nothing physical to my mom, just a lot of verbal to my mom, but it was very physical to me.
Oh.
I remember there's a few memories that I have that, like, I can remember what I was wearing when things happened. In the second grade, I had made fun of somebody with something I shouldn't have said and got sent to the principal's office. And I remember my dad came up to get me from school. And we lived about a block away from the school. And I remember I thought it was funny, didn't think it was that big of a deal. And as I was walking home with my dad and my friends, I remember my dad just beating me in front of them. And I just remember the embarrassment. I remember this idea of, does everybody's dad do this? I mean, is this what childhood's like for everybody else?
Second grade.
Yeah, second grade. And then in the third grade, once again, I remember the house we were in, sitting at the kitchen table, and you used to get those old report cards, and I'm dating myself here. I mean, I'm almost 52. But you used to have on the behavior, you would get a U for unsatisfactory, an S for satisfactory, and E for excellent. And I remember mine always came back U. I mean, I was never, not that I was a bad student. I just loved being center of attention, loved having fun, making people laugh. And that's what they put. They said, Aaron has got a great mind, but he just doesn't seem to apply himself and seems to want to make everybody laugh, which was fine. But my dad, I remember sitting at the kitchen table and he goes, Aaron, everybody right now at home thinks you're a jackass.
He said that literally.
Yeah, that exact word. He goes, you're not that funny. And I just remember being crushed, like thinking, okay, so if my own dad thinks that way about me, how do other people think about me? never even had the concept of God at the time because we were not involved in any church, but I just thought, I guess love is just production based. Like if I was to get a good grade on my report card, or if I wasn't to get in trouble at school, then that must equal acceptance and love. And so because of that, early on, I learned I want to do all the right things for people. I want to make sure that I'm accepted by people. And I also want to control the narrative. And I didn't have those words as a kid, but the idea was calculated sharing. Like I wasn't going to share everything, because if I share everything, there was this kind of lie that I got words for later on. And it's not the one I want to attribute my life to, but it was one that I struggled with. That is, if you knew the real me, you wouldn't like me. And so early on, once again, I didn't have the framework for that, but I just learned that you share what you have to share in order to be accepted, but you can't share everything because that could lead to negative consequences. And so that was how I protected myself. I mean, and that's really, you look at my life, and once again, people have had it much harder than I have. This is just the perspective I have of my life. And there were good times too. It's not that it was just all hell. There was good times, but at the end of the day, I mean, when I look back at my childhood, it's just one of regret, one of grieving. Like I didn't get the, I'm proud of you son. Yeah. I didn't get the, my dad would never say the words, I love you.
Yeah.
He would just say, you too. Like he would never, hey dad, I love you. Yeah, you too. I don't remember him really coming to hardly any of my games. My dad made really good money in the 70s. And so his thing was, well, we're going to go on a vacation. And that was the way he showed love, was by buying things or experiences. But man, I'd have given all of those up just to have him, hug me and tell me it was okay. And, let me know I was his.
Man, I feel so heartbroken just from that comment too. I mean, we've done enough kind of discovering lies, and doing a lot of digging with the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking when you look back at it now.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking in the moment, but it's like, you're just surviving.
Yeah.
Like, how do I navigate this? How am I learning how to interact with people? How do I learn, what real acceptance is? And so I was always fearful of rejection. And so because of that, how I responded was not based off getting to know you. It was based off, what do I have to share with you so I don't get rejected?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so rejection was a big thing. And once again, not having the language for it. I mean, I'm second, third grade, man. I'm just trying to get picked first at recess for kickball, not thinking of the deeper issues that I'm going to struggle with for years and years of my life. And so that really was what my elementary was like. You get into junior high, much of the same, but starting to figure out a little bit of social integration and what it was like to interact, and once again wanting to be liked, but it just struggled, because every night whenever I would go home, it was like, okay, what do I have to do tomorrow to be accepted? What do I have to do tomorrow? It was just exhausting.
It was the real narrative and thought.
Yeah, consistent.
Even in junior high, that's crazy to me, really. I mean, that you would have that awareness even like that early. I mean, it's still pretty young, but that early to be like, I have to think this way.
Yeah.
And act this way.
And it's going to sound dumb. I remember learning the song Tricky by Run DMC because everybody loved that song. And I was like, well, if I know that song, then I could get in good. It was like just dumb stuff like that. And I know everybody struggles junior high, man. You're in just awkward stages to begin with. But trying to fit in and what that looked like was just a struggle.
Yeah.
And it was in junior high that we really started going to a church. So in the early 80s, my parents came to faith.
Wow.
I would say my mom more than my dad. My dad went real conservative with his faith, that, if it's not the King James, it's not the Bible kind of a thing. And my mom was a little off of that. But the church we went to started getting involved. And I had a gentleman, I mean, to this day, I love this man. His name's Ed Finley. He was an elevator repairman, just a counselor in the junior high ministry. And he asked me one day if I wanted to go to McDonald's and study the Bible, and he would buy me dinner. And I don't even think I owned a Bible. I said, sure, I'd love to. Cause I was like, man, who doesn't want free McDonald's?
Oh,
And
100%.
we go, and I remember the booth we sat in the same way that I remember what I was wearing when my dad would do all of that stuff to me. I also remember where I was and what booth I sat in when Ed, I felt, showed me masculine love and somebody who saw me, but I was so afraid that if Ed knew all of me, that he wouldn't want me either. And so I remember going through 1 John, and when we got to 1 John 1:9, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And I could not comprehend that. Like, I struggled with that. I'm like, well, hang on. If we confess our sins, I can't let anybody know what my life's like, because if I confess things, then there's a chance of rejection.
Wow.
And so even with Ed, I was calculated in how I shared. Like, he knew that things at home were not that good, but I thought if he knew that they were really that bad, that Ed wouldn't want to be around me either. And I have no clue. Ed and my mom or whoever may have talked, and she may have explained some stuff because we were really close with that family. And he knew there were some things, but I don't think he knew just how dark it was. But man, Ed was a constant in my life. And so when I went from junior high to high school, Ed went from being a junior high counselor to a high school counselor in our youth group. And so I was with Ed really for almost 10 years, because when I went from from high school to college, he went to be a minister or a worker in the college ministry, same time. So we followed each other, and like to this day, deep love for him and his wife and his amazing family. But he made a profound impact on my life, not in the sense of overcoming the fear of rejection and overcoming all this calculated sharing, but he made a big impact in me seeing that he loved just because he loved. And that there was something underneath that the love of God had transformed his life, and he just saw somebody that he wanted to pour into.
Man, and how important for us guys and men.
Oh,
I mean, think about the impact that it had on your life. And, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff we do, maybe if we were to engage with some younger people like that, we may believe a lot of that. It's not important, not a big deal. It's not really helping, but it's like, Ed was showing you the Father's heart.
Yeah, and I think, like what you said, I think sometimes we would hop into a situation like that, reverse roles, and think, man, this kid's not getting it.
Yeah.
This kid just wants free McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that, yes,
And
that's
get
what I
frustrated
wanted.
with him quick.
Yeah, but the thing is I look back on that time, and I didn't know in junior high what I was doing, but I look back on that time and be like, man, this guy made an impact.
Oh, praise
and
God.
This guy really sought after somebody because of what you said, the Father's heart had done in his life.
Yeah.
He just sought after me, and man, it changed me. It was incredible. Now, I still didn't come to faith yet. That wasn't.
Well, that's even more sweet of Ed.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. I need to get a spin on the wall.
I need to get a win.
Yeah, man, he was patient. He was just incredible, incredible. And so, I'm forever indebted to him.
Hey, I'm Josh Allen. I'm the founder and a coach of Unstuck Coaches. You're probably watching because you may be stuck in an area in your life. Well, you're in good company, because you're going to watch me hit a lot of roadblocks, be stuck, and learn how to invite God into that situation so he can help you out. So we're going to go through a story-based teaching series of some of the biggest walls I hit, the worst roadblocks, the bar ditches, so you don't have to. I don't want you to be stuck like I did. I want you to be moving free and unstuck. I'm going to walk you through my story. I'm going to walk you where I was hitting roadblocks and got big time stuck. And we're going to give you some resources, some exercises, some questions that the Lord used for me to get me through those roadblocks and moving again back to freedom. That's what we want for you. Now listen, I want to be as authentic as possible. I don't want to tell you I was doing fine and good when I was severely depressed. I want you to watch me go through these roadblocks, watch God's invitation to me in the roadblocks, and see how I move from stuck to unstuck. This is for you. You get to watch me hit these roadblocks, watch me go through them, and you get to be unstuck the same way I did. Join us for this unstuck journey, and we're going to be glad to see you there. So So what did high school look like with you then? I mean, at least you had somebody you were meeting with, but like you're still wrestling. Was family life still the same?
So I wasn't really, I mean, obviously I was attracted to the opposite sex,
Yeah.
but for me, they had to make the move first, because if I made the move, I didn't want rejection.
Yeah.
And so, man, I was reactive in everything. I was never proactive unless it was just getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So me and my best friend, still best friends to this day, his name's Brent. We were in the church together, junior high together. His family was like a second family to me. There's times in high school that just to get out of my house, I would go stay at his house.
Yeah.
And he lived 30 minutes away from my high school, but it didn't matter. It was a safe space to live.
Yeah.
And when I say safe space, I don't want you to think that, man, every time I walked in the room, it was just abuse. It wasn't, but it's just, if you don't feel acceptance,
Yeah.
silence can be just as hurtful as, physical, because you just didn't know if you fit in and didn't think you were welcome.
Yeah.
Like,
What's that fear bond stuff too? That, I mean, I've had some, a pretty neat guest on, but it's just like, you're not attached. You're not, I mean, it's a fear bond. Like you show up, it's like, oh, like you dread coming home, or you see the guy call or whatever, even if it was your dad, it's like, oh, I don't want to answer that. Like,
yeah,
you're not bonded healthily.
For me, I just knew that if I was not home at 5:00 for dinner, it was going to be bad.
Wow.
Like I had to be home at 5. Or if in the summer I left the door open and the AC was on, I just knew that when I got home, it was not going to be well.
Wow.
So there was things like that.
Yeah.
Like, back then, obviously there was no cell phones to call. I just knew that I had to be home with my bike at this time, or it just wasn't going to go well. And if I saw my dad walking up the street because I was a couple minutes late, I mean, I just
think about that relationship and the impact it has on your relationship with the Lord.
Oh man,
I
it
mean,
shaped so much of it, because, I've still feel at times, oh, you got to earn it. I got to produce to get it.
Yeah.
Or I have to check all the boxes to get it, because, in my read through the Bible in a year program, if I miss a day on Lamentations, then great. Next thing you know, I must not love Jesus because I missed a day. Everything was governed by checking boxes and producing, because I couldn't just be me, because me wasn't acceptable enough.
You're speaking to a lot of people, man.
And so
Wow.
that was,
So you ended up in ministry though.
yeah.
So how in the world, from high school, to college, to like,
Yeah. So after high school, or really my senior year of high school, I got into doing MMA and did that for 5 years and absolutely loved it. It was a bad way to get my anger out, but it was something I loved doing. And so I would
so
still
sorry for those guys who are on the other side of you.
no way, man. I was,
Gosh, man.
dude, I was tiny. I was same height, like 170, man. I got,
Believe that crud for 1 minute, man.
I can show you pictures, bro. It is bad when you see me, just skin and bones. But I loved it. And I did it with my best friend, Brent. He got me into it, and man, it just took off, and really, really enjoyed it. And so I would still go to the youth group. For me, that was the time whenever I found more recreational things to help with my time.
Yeah.
I felt at times I could whoop anybody. And so whenever I drank, I'd get real lippy.
Yeah.
And then that wouldn't always go well. You find out that you maybe can't. And so
Gosh.
I started smoking weed, because that was like, that chilled me out. The last thing I wanted to do was throw hands with anybody, or I knew in my mind, like, I don't want to sleep around. I don't want to get in fights. So I'll smoke weed, and that masked it. And I would do that 6 days of the week. Sunday I couldn't, because I had to go to church. So hypocritical, but that was kind of what my life was. Still going to the church, still involved in the college ministry, but really just
Getting into drugs and fighting.
yeah, just trying to find,
Yeah.
where am I still fitting in?
Yeah.
Like I knew this wasn't going to be long term, but where am I fitting in? And so that led me up until 1995. And so I was in the college ministry at the church, and this hottie came in that I had known before. She was dating a moron at the time. And she came in, and I was just like, holy cow, that girl's gorgeous. Like, I have to get to know her. And so I invited her and a friend, because once again, fear of rejection. So I thought if I invited 2 people, it wouldn't be as bad. So I invited her and her roommate to go to Branson, which we lived in Springfield, Missouri, to go to Branson and hang out. And I spent the whole day with Jill. That other girl was a third wheel the whole time. She was so pissed. I mean, because all we did, like Jill and I would walk off. Jill and I'd go get food, and she just kind of had to tag her. Yeah, it was bad. But it was like I felt I wasn't good enough on my own, so I had to have some kind of safety. It's so bad when you look back at it. But that was on a Saturday. Sunday, she came over to my house. I still lived with my parents. She came over to the house, and I told my mom, I said, I'm going to marry her. Like, this girl's something different. And we dated up until June of 95. We got engaged, and then we got married in November of 95. Wow. So it was really quick. Yeah. I mean, February 4th is when we started dating. June 17th, we got engaged. November 11th, we got married. And so, yeah, it was.
We've had a discussion on this before. I'm like, whether that's impossible or not. Well, that'll be a different topic.
Yeah, man. I think I didn't have a clue about life. Yeah. I didn't have a clue about a lot of things, but I can't look back. Like with most of my story, I can't look back and be like, I wish it was different, because it made me who I am today.
100%.
Now, do I tell my kids that?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, one of my kids had a shorter engagement and is married and thriving, and our daughter had a little bit of a longer engagement. She's married and thriving. Yeah. I mean, it's like
there's no clear answer.
Yeah, there's no clear answer. I think it's more the support you may have around you that helps you in that. And if you're willing, like I think we even talked about this in Montana. There's two types that you deal with your kids. They can live and learn, or they can listen and learn.
Yeah.
Live and learn is a lot more painful. Yeah. Listen and learning, and I just don't have a lot of listening and learning kids. They just want to live and learn, which is great. They're just going to learn it, and we'll still be here to know. Yeah, it's harder on them, and you just seeing your kids make some of those decisions. But we got married November of 95.
How old were you?
I was 21.
Okay.
She was 20.
Okay.
And it was hell, like our first year. So my family, very confrontational, very in your face, just had no problem arguing. Jill's family, the way we describe it, is more of a leave it to Beaver family. Her family is incredible heritage of believing and just amazing, like, heritage of faith in her side of the family. And so, but they didn't argue much, and they didn't let things get out in the open. A lot of things were just swept under the rug. And so for me, man, our first year of marriage I don't know if I told you the story when we were in Montana. We got back from our honeymoon, and she made this dinner, and I came in and was like, oh, she made spaghetti. And I say this in a joking way, but she made it, the non-biblical way, that it was baked. Like, I think spaghetti should be noodles and you pour the sauce on. Well, she baked it. And I walked in and was like, that's not how my mom makes it.
Oh, no, never say that. Like, yeah.
Every time I say that, people are like, cringy. I know, dude, I was there. I'm the one who said it. But it was stuff like that. Yeah. That was just, our marriage was up and down. Like, I would come home and she'd be on the phone crying to her mom. I'm like, what is so bad about me married to me that you start crying to your mom? And so even in that, it wasn't that it was bad being married to me. It was, she was away from her family, trying to adjust to new life. But my lens was, there's something wrong with me. Now, there could have been. I mean, obviously, I didn't know what I was doing either. But it was just that same lens that I looked through, like, oh, she's seeing the real me and she doesn't want to be married to me. And never vocalizing that. That was probably one of my biggest mistakes in marriage, is I didn't share enough with Jill, because I thought, well, I got to protect her, but also I was afraid of hearing an answer of rejection. But at the same time, not giving her a space to have a voice. Like, I was just, well, let's just do this. Let's make this decision. And obviously, part of our story, how that led to be a lot worse later on. But our first year was really, really tough. I was like, man, is this really what it's like? I didn't get to go 7 years and start thinking that. I mean, I was thinking that 7 days after we were married. I was like, man, is this what this is like? I mean, man, this is tough. I mean, there's things you get to do as a married couple that are a lot of fun, but I'm like, it's not worth what I'm going through right now. This is brutal. And so over that time, in the summer of 96, we got asked to take over our junior high youth ministry at the church that I was born and raised in.
Oh, okay.
So we hop in and man, I don't, once again, have a clue. We start doing it, and they said, hey, next week we need somebody to take them to camp.
Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, we'll take them. And so we took him to this youth camp, and the whole week was incredible. I mean, we got there within the first 5 minutes. Old school camps, they had a counselor meeting and all the leaders. Well, some of my kids from my youth group hopped the fence to the pool, and a kid dove off the lifeguard stand and split his head open.
Oh, come on.
And so I get done with the meeting thinking, hey, man, this is going good. We got it. And they were like, hey, you need to go see Andy. I'm like, what's wrong with Andy? He dove in the pool. Is he okay? Well, you need to go see Andy. And he had his hat down to here, man.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, what's up, Andy? Nothing. I said, take your hat off. And I mean, it was filleted open.
Oh, man.
So I was like, what do I do? So we sent him to the hospital, got that taken care of. But at the end of the week, with all the ups and downs, I just felt, man, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. I don't want to be a painter. I don't want to be mud work.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. And that had already been on Jill's heart for a while, and she just hadn't shared it. And so we surrendered to ministry that fall. I mean, like a month later, I'm enrolled in seminary. And so go for 4 years. During that time, I would go to school from, 8 to noon or whatever, and then work from 1 to midnight. Come home, do it all again. Jill was working at the bookstore there. And then not long after that, a couple of years, I think my sophomore year, we found out we're pregnant with Daniel, which is my oldest son. We had him in September of 98 and still in school. And then, October of 2000, we had our second son, Dawson. Mm-hmm. And so it was crazy. I mean, we just had a lot going on.
You're in the middle school, young married couple, just getting into ministry, and 2 kids on the ground now.
Yeah, 2 kids on the ground and not having, that's where Jill thrives. Like, she is an amazing nurturer. She is just like the best mom ever. And so she was thriving. And I was like, man, I never get to see the kids, but she would keep them up till I got home from work. But it was just a struggle. And in my mind, I had so much pride that I've got to do good here. Because if I do good here, that equals that I'm worth something.
God, that's
once again, it's always the undercurrent. You can't see it at the time, but when I look back, it's like, man, I just see these breadcrumbs all through my life of that. And so we graduated, and the church decided to bring us on staff full time to do the junior high, and then we ended up taking over the high school. And I thought, man, things are going great.
Yeah,
things are going great. And during that time, I had the idea that, hey, I'm doing ministry, Jill, you need to get on board. I know you got kids, but this is important. And I say it, and when you say it out loud, I just feel like such a, I could use other words, but I'll just say jerk.
Yeah.
That I didn't see it. I was so blinded by my own desire and my own, I need to do good at this because that's going to prove my worth, instead of seeing that my family was my first ministry. And I just never saw it until later on, almost till it was too late. And so when we were in Missouri, a gentleman had kind of made some advancements on Jill, and it was brought to light. And so I resigned immediately. Yeah. And then we moved to Midland, Texas, where is a lot of her family was at. My family's great, real close with my mom and my sister, but that was about all I had there as far as family. Yeah. I had some that lived an hour away, and they were great, and man, salt of the earth, love them to death. But where we were at, we needed better support.
Oh yeah, you get the boys on the ground.
Yeah, and so we moved to Midland. I just kind of picked up odd jobs there, went through some counseling, and just kind of got to heal a little bit. And about a year after that, we got asked to come out to Savannah, Georgia, to be youth pastors out there. So we both felt good about it. It was one that we both went out there. She felt good. I felt good. We went out there, and man, we just had some beautiful time there. Like, we have some of our closest friends to this day was through that ministry. Me and the pastor, after a year or so, kind of butted heads a little bit, more on some basis of theology. I fall more reformed. He did not. And so, he kind of, hey, you're teaching heresy if you're teaching, the effectual call or whatever. And so we were kind of butting heads, and I thought, okay, this can't go long term, because I don't want to cause dissension in the church, because I'm not going to, change what I believe theology or what I feel scripture teaches. But obviously I can't be under that leadership. And so just praying for what the Lord would see. And that's when we got a call to go back to Midland. This is kind of where I really screwed up. I went to Jill with the info, but didn't really give a choice. I just said, hey, I feel called back to Midland to be the teaching pastor. And they were saying, hey, in the next few years, this guy's going to retire and we'd like you to take over.
So you said we're going basically instead of.
I didn't word it that way.
Yeah.
But I said, hey, I feel called this way. What do you think? And I said, I really feel this. And she knew kind of what was going on with the pastor and I, but she had also had big time roots. I mean, we were 17 hours from any family.
Yeah.
She had roots, women pouring into her pouring into these people. And it was during that time in Savannah that we ended up having Darcy. So we had Darcy in May. This happened in December. So Darcy was only a few months old. And I said, hey, I think we're moving back to Texas. And she didn't argue, but she didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And she never vocalized it. I would see that more on me, that I did not create space for her to have a voice, more as in, hey, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that, in the story at some point, or maybe even now for a minute, but it's like, you mentioned that a few times of like not giving her the option to have a voice, but maybe not intentional. Maybe it was like, because early on, you weren't willing to share enough and have an open enough conversation to where she could have a voice. Yeah, that kind of what happened. Like, I'm just curious on that statement.
Yeah, so it wasn't that it was like this intentional berating or anything like that. It was just...
No, like you weren't shutting it down. It's just like, I don't know, maybe you never opened the door to it. I don't know.
I think that's a lot of what it was, is I never created a culture for Jill to feel like she could just share whatever she wanted to share, because, early on when she would share frustration about being away from her family or struggles in marriage, once again, that equaled rejection to me. So I'd want to shut it down and just move on.
Yeah. I know. I just wanted you to say that for guys listening, for married men listening, like there's always so much going on both. And for us, it may not even be like we're wanting to shut it down. It's just like, that's rejection.
Yeah.
It feels like I don't want to hear it because of my own stuff, not even,
Yeah. For me, it was, I don't want her to say no to this because I really feel this is a better plan than what I'm in.
Yeah.
Take the Lord out of it.
Yeah.
Take the idea of the Lord out of it. It was just like, I think this is a better opportunity than what I'm in. And I don't see a lot of daylight in the opportunity I'm in. So, Jill, this has to be the way we're going. This has got to be a good thing, right? And she said yes, but like we talk about it now, and she was like, I just didn't feel you really asked.
Yeah.
And so I just felt I needed to say yes. And it was part of that. I think she felt trying to find her voice in the marriage as well as, okay, I want to be a good wife. I don't want to be a thorn in the flesh. I don't want to be a pain. So I'll just say yes. Instead of seeing that sharpening of each other, where you actually get a really good product if you're both able to share and sharpen, it was neither one of us were sharpening. It was our own little silos. And then, we came together under the same roof, but a lot of decisions were separate, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take from like kind of the moment you got the invite back to Midland and then Savannah? Like, what did that process look like from like kind of the request to come?
Oh, it was pretty quick. I mean, it was within 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the request came, I had told her we had ran a youth camp in Tennessee, and I had told her, hey, I feel like our time's coming to an end here. And I told her that in July or June. This didn't come to fruition until November, December. And so that's when they started talking. We moved mid-January or right after the first of the year, we moved to Midland. Okay. So it was a pretty quick process. It was obviously tough saying bye to all of our kids that we had loved so much. And we had started a college ministry with kind of an independent, not really under the banner of a church, and had a lot of like SCAD students, Savannah Academy of Art and Design.
Oh, okay.
It was awesome. It was, I felt, was some of the most freeing ministry I had, but it wasn't under the banner of the church because they wouldn't have approved of it.
Yeah.
And so we started a thing at night, me and another guy, and we had this church that let us use their building because our church wouldn't let us. I mean, there was just some things like that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But it was a real quick transition to back to Midland.
So you pack up 2 boys. Darcy's on the ground at this point, a couple months old.
Yep.
Move back to Midland.
Yep. Pack everybody up. And so
go from trees and water back. West
Arctic
Texas
desert,
dirt.
man. Literally mesquites and dirt.
No.
Caliche dust was all it was.
Seriously.
Oh, it was bad.
Back to the wilderness. I bet we could even justify that in the Bible. This is our wilderness time, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to Red Raider. I'm a Red Raider, so I can make fun of West Texas. Like,
Oh,
I did love it out there, though. But
yeah. Glad you did. Yeah.
So-
Somebody did.
okay, sorry, man. Tell me about. So you said this is where
This is where the story kind of takes a turn. If there hasn't already been some speed bumps along the way, this is a bigger one. So in Midland, man, it seemed like favor just fell, like with everything I was doing. Doing college ministry, doing young married, speaking a lot on Sundays, doing camps over the summer. Like it was everything I dreamed of. The exact opposite was happening with Jill. I just didn't check in enough to realize it. So when we get there, I'll just say in Savannah, we were pretty big people. We'd gained quite a bit of weight. And so Jill went on a diet, working out. She lost almost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this at the time, but she gets called in by the pastor's wife and says, "Hey, are you anorexic?" She's like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, you seem to have lost a lot of weight and we just want to make sure you're healthy." And then they started making the statements. And by the way, you don't really act like a pastor's wife,
Really. Oh,
and Jill,
man.
when you get to meet Jill, life of the party, so much fun, loves everybody. But, some people, if you want somebody that's meek and mild and going to stand in the corner, that's not Jill.
Yeah.
And thank God it's not Jill.
You're not being the good pastor's wife.
Right. And
That was
that's
true.
what she heard.
Yeah.
And so during that time, I was not as present as I should be at home because, man, I was busy doing all these things, thinking I was doing exactly what the Lord had called me to do, and was just oblivious to some of the stuff going on at home. And that's kind of been a track record up until this point. I was involved because it was where I was getting approval and acceptance. I mean, Jill had people coming up to her all the time. "Oh my gosh, you're Aaron's wife.
Yeah.
He's such a good teacher. He's this and that." And she was like, "Yeah, great, but he sucks at home," kind of a thing.
Yeah.
She never vocalized that, but that's what she was feeling. And so when they told her that you don't seem to act like a pastor's wife, she'll tell you in her own words at that moment, it cemented in her mind that, "Oh, I don't act like a pastor's wife. I'll show you what not acting like a pastor's wife will be." And so she got very rebellious and very just indignant to the other pastors' wives and just to what we were doing in Jingle. And me not being home, and me being where I was focusing just left a crack in the door.
Yeah.
And so what happened is on October 19th, 2009, it was exposed that she had been having a long-term affair with one of my good friends down there. Absolutely crushed me. Like I wanted blood. Like I wanted to hurt him.
You were heading over there to do that.
I was. Yeah, I very avid person with firearms. I grabbed one of my pistols and went to his house to kill him. And I was on his street, probably about 4 or 5 houses away. And that friend I mentioned earlier, Brent, called me out of the blue and just said, "Hey man, what's going on?" And I started cussing him out. And he's like, "What in the world? Why are you talking to me like this?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you why. I'm about to end this guy's life." And told him everything that happened. And he goes, "You pull over right now." And I said, "No, I'm going to end this." And he goes, "You pull over right now." He goes, "Get your butt home." And he used other words. He goes, "But get your butt home before you make a decision that'll ruin you for the rest of your life." So as much as I wanted to take control and end that guy, I turned around and went home and went into a home.
And she knew at that point.
Yeah. So it was exposed to me. I called her, after I found out, and, she was hysterical. And I went into a home where I'm like, once again, go back to my child, not wanted, not accepted, rejected. So I'm in a home with a woman that doesn't want me. And a friend that I thought was a close friend. Like it was just betrayal, rejection, all the way around. And so what do I do during those times? I build walls. I'm not going to let you in then. You've hurt me. I'm not going to let you in. And so I wish I could tell you I handled it well and was grace-filled and just rolled out the red carpet for Jill to be healed. It was the exact opposite. I threw everything out to try to trip her up and make her feel the pain I was feeling. And this is not something I'm bragging on, but you're asking about our story.
Yeah.
And I can't share one part of it without sharing the other part.
Yeah.
So that night, Monday night, October 19th, I called the pastor and said, hey, this has happened. I know we need to talk. I'm sure I need to step down. I don't know what this looks like. He goes, well, let's meet in the morning. So I go into his office that morning, share everything. And he started off very combative. Man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I said, yeah, I just need to know what does reconciliation and restoration look like for us? And he was like, well, that's not going to be available through us.
The pastor said that?
Yeah. And that's when it just like, the foundation that I thought I had built everything on just started to crumble.
Oh my.
Because I thought that was the whole gospel message, that restoration and reconciliation, like, isn't that something we want? And he was like, well, it's different for you because you're a pastor.
Oh man.
And I said, once again, I didn't have enough of a backbone to really push back because I was afraid of more rejection. I'm already getting rejection here. So if I bow up and really make my presence known, it's going to be more rejection. And so I shrugged back and thought, well, okay, I'll just do whatever he says. And he was like, I think it's best if you leave town. And there's more to that story. Like the man that Jill had the affair with, his family was very prominent in the church, all that stuff.
That was the next morning or next few mornings?
That was the next morning. That was Tuesday morning.
So you're here and you need to leave too, and restoration is not available here.
Right. So I go home Tuesday and Jill, I remember when I walked in, she was like, how was the meeting? And I was like, oh, you want to know how the meeting was? And I laid into her verbally of everything that she just caused.
Oh, wow.
I lost my identity because my identity was in being a pastor and teacher and all that. I'm about to lose my home, about to relocate my kids. And I'm with a wife who obviously doesn't want me because she wanted somebody else. And here I am scrambling to try to figure this out and just felt all alone. So we put our house on the market Wednesday and it sells within 8 hours. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I've really got to move now. So I went up to Dallas with, her parents had come down to see us during all the crowd. I load up with them because we only had one car, rode up to Dallas to look for jobs. And so I'm looking for a job. And while I'm up there, I call 5 different churches. And 4 of them, call these churches and said, hey, this is our story. Like, I don't even know at the time if I even wanted to heal. Like, I'll tell you, I know I didn't want to heal our marriage.
Yeah.
But I was really worried about perception.
Yeah.
And, I was more worried about what am I going to do for a living more than I was that my wife stepped out. Like,
yeah,
she was secondary, unfortunately. And so I called these churches and just said, hey, we're broken. This is where we're at. We need some healing. Can you guys help us? And all 4 of the churches were like, I just don't think this is a place that you would fit in. And I just thought, you got to be kidding me, man.
What are they even saying?
Well, it was just all, we just don't have a ministry targeted for that. And it's like, I don't feel you have to have a ministry targeted for that. It's just show grace and love and walk alongside somebody when they're hurting, regardless of what the hurt is. I mean, I'm guessing if I was going through some medical issue, it wouldn't be, hey, we don't have the place to help walk alongside you in this. But because it was an affair or whatever it was, hey, we just don't feel this is a good place for you. And so that just continued to feed that, see, you're not wanted, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
People are knowing the real you and your real family, and you're not wanted. And so I had met Matt Chandler through Acts 29. We had gone to a conference out in North Carolina, and I remembered his church was up there. I was like, well, he seemed like a nice guy. I'll call their church. And I got a hold of their secretary named Brittany. Just saw Brittany again right after I got back from Montana, and I hadn't seen her in years, and gave her the biggest hug.
Thank you.
Because Brittany, I started sharing my story with her, and it was like a rehearsed speech. Hey, this is who we are. This is what's going on. And she goes, hey, can you stop? And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that's how it was going. I said, thank you for your time. She goes, no. You need to get here as quick as you can. That's what we're all about.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, and I honestly, I said, I'm sorry. What did you say? And she goes, you need to get here as quick as you can. This is a place where it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay there.
God, it still gives me chills. I've heard that before too.
Well, I remember pulling over. I was in Flower Mound because they didn't really have offices. And I was just trying to find somebody to talk to. Well, I ended up calling her, and I pull over on Cross Timbers Road. And I remember pulling in the parking lot just crying. And I don't even know what the tears were for. I don't know if it was tears of hope or tears of, okay, at least I know we're moving. I didn't know what it was. I just remember being so overwhelmed that somebody would hear just a snippet of the crap in my life and be like, yeah, come on in. Like, that just blew me away. And so went back, packed up, and we moved the week of Thanksgiving of 2019 up to Louisville, Texas, and just stayed. Like, we sold our home. We're staying in this little 3-bedroom apartment. I mean, I absolutely hated my life.
Yeah.
Hated my life. If you were to ask my kids the time in the apartment, they loved it. And I'm like, how in the world?
Yeah.
Like, God had to protect them because
Just
we
blinded
fought
them.
every day. Every day, and I'll choose my words carefully because I don't want to be vulgar, but I would come in the door every day and just remind Jill.
Yeah.
Every day, that was my greeting of, hey, I just need to remind you, you ruined my life. You slept around. I just need you to know how much I don't like you. And this is how I'm greeting her when I come home. And for Jill, when all of that got exposed, it was like the chains just dropped off of her. Like,
Really?
I would look back at that time as that's when she was truly redeemed.
Yeah.
For me, the chains came off of her, but I put them on.
Yeah. And you reminded her
Every day
of the change you carried.
Yep. Because I needed somebody to feel my pain.
Yeah.
I couldn't just give it to the Lord because that wasn't physical enough. Like, I didn't feel like that was enough. And that's horrible to say, but somebody had to feel my pain, and somebody had to know that I was going through a lot and that I had anger. I needed to hurt somebody. Never was physical with Jill at all, but I was very verbal with Jill. I would tell her what she was and what she did and remind her all the time. Like, we would go out on dates and I was like, oh, and I would go into, oh, did you have dates like this? And I would just ruin the night. Like, I was a horrible person to be around. But during that time, we got plugged in with a community group.
Through the village.
Yeah. We started going there. That was the same week that Matt had his seizure.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't see Matt for probably four months. I mean, we went to breakfast, I want to say April, after he had his seizure and his surgeries. So we were going to the church. I was just angry all the time. They were singing about redemption. There's a song that Michael Bleeker, our worship guy, used to sing all the time called Restoration. And I remember I would cross my arms and just be so pissed off saying, that's not possible.
Wow.
And we got into this community group, and this group was incredible. I don't think I've ever felt loved on like that, in such a sacrificial biblical way, that people were just there. Like, they heard all of our junk. It was like the first time that we could really be open, because like, we go to interview, we go to the youth, to their community group, and they're like, hey, we do this every time somebody's first time here. Sit in the chairs and tell us your story.
Oh,
like, you want to hear our story right now? We're like, yeah, we don't want the fixed version. We need to hear what's broken. And I mean, we aired it all out. Probably more me, because I was trying to paint the picture of Jill being bad and me being the victim. But we went through all of that, and they were like, great, let's work with this. And I mean, they walked with me, or walked with us, every day. Like, in the beginning, and we share this because my wife and I, we do a lot of marriage counseling now. We'll share that in the beginning, we had probably 27 bad days out of a month and 2 or 3 good ones.
Okay.
Eventually we got to the point where we were having 27 good days and only a couple bad ones. And a lot of that was through that community group. They would walk with us. So when I would come home at night and berate Jill would not fight back. She would call the wives and be like, hey, Aaron's saying this to me. I just need to get this out. Well, the wives would in turn tell the husbands, and then I would get a call. Hey, would you like to get coffee Saturday at Starbucks? Yeah, I'll get coffee. And I would sit down, and these guys would surround me and be like, Why the hell did you say this to your wife on
Yeah.
Tuesday night? What do you mean? Well, you said this. And I was like, oh no, like they're calling me out.
Oh, wow.
And they did not allow anything to sit. Like there wasn't, oh, he's going to get better, just let him go. They were confronting me all the time where I was out of line. And I'd never seen that because they were knowing all of my crap and still pushing in to say, hey, we're still for you. We still love you, but we're not going to let this sit. Like we're going to confront it. And I think that was probably one of the first times when I was starting to let my guard down a little bit because they knew all my junk. I mean, there was nothing that they didn't know. And so, and I was working a job I hated. But man, they pressed in and they loved us well.
One of the questions that came to mind in thinking about this and praying about this interview was, what was the process that God used? And I think you're answering it, but
yeah, there was a few things. So our church, the Village, does a thing called steps, which is consider it discipleship on steroids. And that was like when we did it, I think now it's a 12-week. When we did it, it was a 16-week program. And it incorporates where you have a mentor, you go through your past. I mean, they get to know it all. You check in with them. So Jill did that separate from me, and Jill was flourishing. Like before everything happened, I'd be like, hey, have you read this from Piper or whatever? She's like, I don't want to read that. Now she's coming to me with stuff. Have you read this from Piper? I'm like, no, I didn't want to read that. Like I didn't want to have anything to do with the Lord. I was just trying to manage. That's really what I was doing. Let's just manage the situation. Let's see what happens. But it wasn't until, and once again, I'll be very open with you. Easter of 2010, Jill had enough. I had berated her all the time. And Easter Sunday, I did it again. And she just had a mental breakdown.
I mean, that's 6 months of it. Basically, yeah. 6
months of it.
Yeah.
And what was bad is the first month when we were still in Midland, no communication with the church. Like we had no pastors coming in to check in on us. Jill to this day she had one woman that reached out throughout the whole time. The church was actually told that I resigned to take a job in Dallas. And so there was no consequences for anybody else. We got letters. Hey, why are you taking a job for more money? I thought you were wanting to be our next pastor. Because they didn't know the truth. And so then that's just making me more angry.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't mean to go back, but it was just, that was the rhythm we were in. And it was through steps. Then we got plugged in with marriage recovery on Wednesday nights at the Village. And that's where we could kind of be open. And there were other broken couples. And we got to hear some couples that were a year down the road and doing really well. And some that were newer than us and a lot worse off than us. And I thought, okay, maybe there's some hope here. C.S. Lewis always talks about the quote, oh, you too? When you talk about sin, oh, you too. That's what I felt like. I felt like in recovery, it was like, this isn't just for drug addicts and alcoholics or whatever. This is for anybody who's got a hurt, hang up, or bad habit. I mean, let's get it. And so that group was really big. And then there was a gentleman named Jason Holloman. He's now... he was on staff at the Village. He now pastors up outside of Prosper, but he would walk with me all the time. And I needed a type A kind of guy that would punch me in the mouth because I felt with my words, I was good enough to manipulate a conversation or that, being very timid on what I shared with certain men, but Jason came hard at me. I mean,
that's like the story of the community group guys.
Yeah, it really was. And I needed that because I felt I would just overrun anybody.
So would Jason be like, cut the bull crap, man? Like,
there was a time when I was sitting, he was speaking and I still don't know how he does this and he laughs about it. But on a Wednesday night, he was speaking on sexual sin. And I mean, I think he saw my arms get crossed. I mean, I was mad. And while he's speaking, I get a text from him and says, you are not a victim. Well, why he's preaching. And I didn't see him grab a phone or text anything. Maybe he had it queued up and he knew it was going to hit me and he selected a time frame to send it. And I still give him a hard time about that. But it's like, it was that. Or he'd say, hey, guess what we're doing tonight? I'm like, what? He goes, we're going to go get lettuce wraps from Payway. Double chicken lettuce wraps. And we would sit there and he would just let me talk. But then he would challenge me back. Well, how are you loving your wife like Christ loved the church?
Oh, man.
Well, she didn't love me like,
yeah.
Your call is to love her.
Yeah.
How are you living out your call? And it was tough. And once again, I'm not saying every situation that may have gone through the same thing we went through would end up the same way. For us, eventually, there were two parties that really wanted to be restored. And the Lord stepped in and flexed in a way that when the world would have said, you're a statistic, you're going to be a divorced couple after this, that he just flexed in and in his grace, did a work that we can't describe, we can't understand. I mean, my heart for her is so much different. But that was so that was 2010. We get up to 2011, 2012. We actually ended up taking over the marriage reconciliation ministry. And so now we're leading this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking on Wednesday nights, but I'm still working regular full-time job. I was working at a dealership at the time. I was over kind of the fixed operations part of a dealership, was doing that. And then at nights we would, do Wednesday nights. And it was a time when I saw that God never wastes a hurt. There's things that from your past, my past, whoever's past, that he crosses people with you that in just his sovereignty have a really similar story. And you're able to give them hope. And not hoping that it all worked out, but hoping that the Lord sees you. Let's just lean into him during this time and see what he does. And
I mean, the fact that you guys were involved in leading that marriage ministry, like, to me, that blows my mind with the Lord.
yeah,
It's so sweet. It's such a not what people think the Lord's like type of,
well, my whole thing was rejection. Great. I'm on the shelf. I'm never fit for ministry.
Yeah.
I mean, there was 3 lies that I constantly, wrestled with, is that if you knew the real me, you wouldn't like me.
Yeah.
I'll never be fit for ministry again. And my kids are going to see me like I see my dad. And so I really struggled with those. And it was in just the kindness of the Lord. Initially when something bad comes up, people are always sorry. Like I thought, oh, she's just sorry because she got caught. There's a difference between worldly sorrow and godly sorrow. Worldly sorrow can't last. I mean, it may last for a month or 2 or 6 months, but eventually that worldly sorrow is going to fade. Godly sorrow continues. And over time, I saw Jill just broken. And I saw her in a way I'd never seen her before. Like she was pushing into the Lord. I just saw her growing in these amazing, beautiful ways that I hadn't seen. And so it really did. It rocked me, in scripture when it talks about that, how this woman's testimony will turn the heart of her husband. I mean, I was an example of that because Jill's testimony of just constantly pushing in. And if you were to ask her, she would tell you that she finally got to the point that she said, if Aaron never loves me again, I'm still going to love him the way that you've called me to love him. And she'll tell you that after she prayed that prayer, there were some things that happened where we had to go back to Midland for her grandmother's funeral.
Oh yeah.
And
wow.
I went back to Midland. I slept in a RV on the street and would not hang out with anybody. I was in bed at 7. I mean, I did not want to be there. And every time we drove around, all I saw was reminders of what had happened. So we get back and I said, hey, I just need to know, does that not bother you going back there? And I said, because it killed me. And she was like, no, I'm dead to that. That is not me. And I said, well, I'm glad you are.
Yeah.
And it was crazy that even in my cynical response, the Lord used her in that time to really begin to soften my heart even more. And so that really set us up for what happened in 2014.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been leading the marriage reconciliation ministry. Kids are doing well. 2014, well, I guess I'll back up. So October 19th was the date that it hit the fan with our marriage. Well, our community group thought it'd be fun that if we do a Freedom Day on October 19th. I was like, no, I'm not celebrating that day. And they're like, no, we'll go out to dinner. We'll celebrate the fact that you're in freedom now. And I was like, well, I don't feel like freedom. And so the first one, man, my arms are crossed.
Yeah.
I wanted nothing to do with it. But over time, they became something we actually were. Because Jason and another guy named Michael Snetzer kind of pointed out to me, because I kept on saying, man, I just wish I could go back to what I did before in my old life and wish this never happened. And they asked the question, they said, okay, would you want your kids to be raised in a church that would not offer restoration or reconciliation?
Yeah.
And that killed me
Yeah.
because I was like, oh man, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and he goes, Aaron, you know what you sound like, right? And I didn't have a clue. I'm like, no, what did I sound like? He goes, well, do you remember when the Israelites were freed and they were free and they're walking around? They're like, man, why don't we just go back and be slaves? He goes, you're just wanting to go back and be a slave. He goes, why not just step into the freedom God has for you? And so we had really started stepping into that. And so on Freedom Day of 2013, Jill came home and she had found it when she was getting ready, but she had a lump on one of her breasts. And she was like, hey, do you feel this? And I immediately knew something was there.
Yeah.
So she went, had some tests ran, and unfortunately we found out that it was breast cancer. And so that sent us on this other journey. So starting in January of 2014, she had 3 lumpectomies. And then in February of 2014, she had a mastectomy, then started radiation, and then started some of the reconstruction work in August of that year. And it was once again the Lord just prying my hands off of control.
Oh,
because I'm a fix-it guy. Let me just fix it. Like, doc, fix this. Give her some medicine, cut something off, fix it. And that's not how it worked. I mean, it was like, Aaron, you don't get to control this either. And I saw my wife in a way I've never seen her. Like, she is the toughest woman I've ever met. The way she leaned into it, the way, at first she struggled thinking this is punishment for what I've done.
Yeah.
Was her first reaction. But then after she worked through that, it was one of the most beautiful things. Like, it was horrible physically. It was so tough on our kids, especially our daughter. She was so young that she was always thinking, is mommy going to die?
Yeah.
But I think what we went through prepared us for what we were going through there, that I was able to love on her and care for her and be there for her with the right heart, not out of duty. And to see her walk through that. And unfortunately, it didn't go well. I mean, she's had, I think, 17 surgeries because of it.
Aaron.
So there's nerve damage, things that, like, to this day, if you ask me any wish, I wish she could wake up and not have pain for a day.
Oh.
Like, I wish that could happen. And so that was 2014, 15, 16, 17, going into 18. And so 14 was that. We get into 2015. My middle son, he had mentioned at school, he got bullied a lot. He sees the world a little different. He had Asperger's, and he was bullied a lot in school. And I guess he told somebody that he was going to kill himself.
Oh, man.
And so the school called us, told us, and I just remember feeling like an absolute failure. Like, did I not love him enough? Did I not do this enough? And luckily, he didn't do it. And like I said, this past March 31st, we celebrated 10 years of him not making that decision. But that was just so tough as a dad because, with your kids, man, you think they're incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And you hope you communicate that to them enough. But it's like in school, you always heard the phrase, hey, you pick your friends.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think you pick your acceptance. And
Mm-hmm.
because wherever you're accepted is where you're going to be. Because if I say I want you to be my friend and you don't accept me, we're probably not going to be friends. And that's why you have so many sects of, like, you have the jocks and you have the druggies or whatever. Yeah. They pick their acceptance. And so Dawson really struggled with acceptance and he didn't find it. So he thought this is the easiest way out of it. And I saw the way the Lord worked in his heart, the way, my oldest son, who's a little more stoic, he likes to build emotional fences like I do, to see him break down and love on his brother, to see everybody kind of come alongside of him. And we got him in counseling, and man, he is absolutely thriving today. But that was just another step in our story.
Oh, man.
We've just had, like, over and over again, just these different things that have happened.
How have you both not become, like, cynical and disillusioned with God? Like,
Oh, I wish I could tell you we haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times we have.
Yeah.
It's like, even in the season we're in right now, it's been like, oh, are we just on the shelf again? Oh, have you forgotten about us? Kind of a thing. And there's just this, I think you couldn't do it without community.
Yeah.
I think the moment you begin to pull away from community and the moment you begin to pull away from truth and you begin to just navel gaze and look at your own story, man, I mean, for me, I could look at my own story and be suicidal pretty quick.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And so I think if that's all I'm looking at, I could see how people go that way. But I think when you have a community, and I'll say community, not even our community group, because after Jill got cancer, the community group kind of broke up, but just community in your church. Where we were at, we felt known. I mean, people knew our story. There was a lot of stuff about our story that was out there.
that was a really big deal for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal for everybody, but you particularly. That's what you were hiding.
And
That's
even
what you were running from the whole time.
But even to this day,
Yeah.
like, even though I'm known, it's still like, are they going to like me?
Yeah.
Are they going to accept me? Is my story okay? Or is it going to offend them? Like, there's still a battle. And so I think that's how we didn't become jaded, is the Lord. It's like everybody says, hindsight's 20/20. I was able to look back and see his faithfulness over and over again, despite me being an absolute moron.
Yeah.
And despite sin, despite bad choices, despite all of that, he has just constantly been faithful. And it's not in my timing, man. My timing would have been completely different. But in his timing, and I'd love to tell you that it's all puppy dogs and ice cream,
Yeah.
but it's not. I mean, it's a grind. There's days when I'm like, okay, I feel like, David, why have you forsaken me? How long are you just going to ignore me, God? And I mean, that's even to just this last 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 14, 15. In 17, the church comes to and says, hey, we'd like to do a video testimony about you. But we had never told our kids why we moved to Dallas.
Oh, man.
We had just told them, hey, we're following the Lord and moving to Dallas. And so I get a call, hey, we'd like to do a story. We'd like to do a video. Great. We need to start filming tomorrow. Oh, crap. That means we got to tell our kids tonight. And Jill and we'd always prayed that, hey, prepare their heart for when they hear our story. It's going to be on your timing when they find out. But they never asked, what makes you guys qualified to lead a recovery group on Wednesday nights?
Yeah.
Like, our kids, it never just, the light bulb never went off for that.
Yeah.
And I think that was just the Lord protecting their heart. And so we get home, we sit the kids down. We're like, hey, I need to let you guys know something. The reason, remember when we told you we moved here that we were following the Lord's leading? Yeah. Well, let me let you know how the Lord brought that about. And we shared the affair. We shared all of it with our kids. Daniel was a junior in high school. I'd put Dawson as a freshman, Darcy, probably 6th grade, something like that. Daniel stands up immediately and throws something across the room. And he goes, this is BS. Our family's above sin like this, which exposed an idol in his heart.
Yeah.
Dawson, I mean, our lover, he loves people more than he loves anything. And he was just like, I love you. I'm going to go pray for you. And he just walked off. Right. Okay. What are you doing? And then Darcy just, I don't think she knew what to do. She had already had such a struggle with Jill having cancer.
Yeah.
And this is up only a couple years. She was still having surgeries and stuff. So she was rocked a little bit. And so we did the video. It aired. Daniel didn't want to have anything to do with Jill for a couple of weeks. But then he came back and said, hey, thank you guys for committing to staying together, because that's a picture I get to see now.
Oh, man.
And I think when you think about that, it's so easy sometimes to be tunnel visioned on just our decisions and not seeing the seeds you're sowing in the rest of your family. And Jill and I pray that the kids see that the Lord is good and that he redeems, and that even in a situation that seems really, really bad, that doesn't define his goodness. Like, the Lord is good even if we have gotten divorced. I mean, biblically, I could have divorced her and moved on and been okay, I guess. But even in divorce, even in cancer, even in all that, it doesn't define his goodness. Like, he is good regardless. And that's hard. because we put goodness as a scale.
Well,
If things are going my way, it's got to be that he's good.
No, I'm so glad you said that. It's like the metric we use, and that it's not.
Well, yeah, it's like somebody that says, I'm good enough to get into heaven.
Yeah.
Well, what's the scale?
Yeah.
I mean, is it a bell curve where if you're 80%, or is it you got to pass by 70% of good works? Like, what's the bell curve?
Yeah.
It never works. And that's why scripture's clear that it's when you were dead in your trespasses and sin, when you were at your very worst, when you were an enemy, that's when God moved towards you. It's not a metric. And so for me, that was so hard because metrics you can define. And so same with our kids. I think for them to see that the Lord is good and that you don't run, that doesn't mean that all situations end up like ours. We know plenty of couples that have gone through similar things that have gotten a divorce and because one party didn't want to reconcile.
Yeah.
And just was, I don't want to quit the sin I'm in. And so there's things like that just may not work out. But for us and for our kids, it created such a transparency. Like we were speaking at a conference, I think I shared this with you, at a conference at a church in Fort Worth. Our middle son, Dawson, is sitting with a group of youth that he doesn't know. We're up there on the stage sharing about adultery and all this stuff. And Dawson's turning around, that's my parents. Like, how do you brag on that? Like, how is that something to brag on? But he saw what, in his own way, he saw what God had done in our home and how he had redeemed something. And I don't think he even had words for it, but he was like, my mom and dad are still together is almost what he was screaming. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And so, yeah, that was kind of 17. In 2018, I went on as an elder at the village, as a lay elder and served there for almost 5 years and stepped down from that in 2021. We also stepped down from recovery at that time.
Okay.
And we just had some things in our family where we just kind of needed to refocus. But still actively involved, doing premarital, doing marriage counseling out of our home 3 or 4 nights a week while I was still working.
And you have a bit of a vision. Do you both have a little bit of a vision to be involved in the marriage ministry or reconciling ministry? Is that on your heart now?
That's on it's been on our heart really.
Well, I mean, you've been doing it for...
Yeah, we've been doing it for 10, 12 years, but ideally, I couldn't think of anything I'd want to do full-time other than that. Like to minister with my wife. Like we had a couple, Jeff and Cheryl Scruggs is another couple that we got involved in early on. And they were divorced for 7 years and got remarried. And they wrote a book called I Do Again. Well, when Jill was going through this and I wasn't entering in, Jill actually emailed Cheryl and said, hey, this is our story. Can you help us? And so we started counseling with them as well. And they were incredible. And they were like, don't worry about paying us. Like, who does that? Like, that was how they paid their bills. And they said, don't worry about it. Yeah. And they run the Hope Center up in Plano. And I've talked with him a lot, met with him over the past few weeks. Jill and I would love to pursue that full time.
Yeah.
We're just kind of in a phase right now of transition where we're still doing it out of our home.
Yeah.
The thing is like anytime we go to a marriage conference, we don't charge.
Yeah.
I didn't need to. I had a good corporate job.
Yeah.
It's like, just get us there and give us some food. Don't worry about a love offering. If you decide to, that's fine, but don't worry about it. I don't want that to be the deciding factor. And so we still do that when we get opportunities.
If somebody wanted to just reach out to you for some hope, reach out to you guys to have you come talk at the church, speak at a class, do anything kind of marriage, reconciliation, counseling, all that. What's a good way for them to reach you?
I mean, we're both on Instagram and Facebook and all that. Email is aaronyoungtx at outlook.com. Real easy. AARON. YOUNG, T as in Tom, X as in X-ray at outlook.com. We usually only try to do one a quarter right now because I had a full-time job. Now that's not that way. We're a little more open in what we could do. We're hoping to have our first book done by the end of the year. And so we're writing a book that's kind of sharing our story, but a lot of what we do with premarital, just the F words of flourishing, from friendship to flourishing. And so, we love doing that. And so, like I said, it's been a journey. After we stepped out of 2021 from being an elder and serving so much, we kind of felt a little lost. Like, what do we do now?
Mm-hmm.
And really poured into doing counseling out of our home.
Yeah.
And that went really well, and absolutely loved it. And we still love walking with couples. Like, for me, if you want to know my identity would be described as a guiding restorer. Like, I love guiding people down a path, and transparently communicate a truth that'll ultimately lead to a legacy of life change. And I love seeing that. And whether that's me consulting with a corporation, whether that's a job I'm doing to get a paycheck, or specifically whether it's in marriage, like Jill and I love guiding people. So I'm the guiding restorer. Jill is this nurturer, vulnerability infuser. Like, she just has a way of, like, everybody calls her Mama Jill. Like, she just has a way of creating space where you just let your guard down and you're fine sharing. Wow. And then we're able to take that and kind of merge.
Well, it takes her in order for you to be able to really guide. Like, I mean, nothing's going to happen on guidance and restoration until you're vulnerable.
And she'll normally ask a question
Yeah.
that just unravels the whole thing. She has this sweet gift of discernment that I'll be sitting there and I'll be talking with a couple, and she was like, "Can I ask a question?" Yeah, ask away.
I love that.
And she'll ask the question, all of a sudden, everything just falls out and everything unravels. Like, now we're getting to the root of it. So it's awesome to be able to do that with her. And we've been able to do it with so many other couples. I mean, there's so many couples that have had similar stories, even in ministry. Like, that's a lot of where our heart is as well, is because as a ministry couple, where do you go if you're struggling?
Yeah.
Like, if the youth pastor is to get up and saying, "I'm struggling with porn," there's a good chance he may not have a job at some churches.
Yeah, you can't really say that. Yeah.
Right. But so what's that teach him to do? It teaches him to hide, to not be confessional, because there's a paycheck or a job or identity on the line. And so where do ministers go? Where can they go to be free and truly get help, to truly get encouraged, to truly get just some tools to help equip them to have a better marriage and to walk through some things? And there may be some time where, hey, you probably need to sit out for a few months here. Let's look at this. But I never want to be a part of a group that just shoots their wounded.
Yeah.
Like, that's so prevalent in the church that it's easier to shoot the wounded than it is to walk with them through restoration, because that's hard and that's time consuming and it's exhausting. But man, it's so beautiful when you're able to do it. And once again, there's a lot of factors in that. You've got to have somebody that's repentant and wanting to do that. But the Lord just softens people's hearts, and it's nothing that we necessarily check a box. We just want to be available to use our story for His glory. Like, I think it was even asked when we were in Montana, "Hey, would you go back and undo it?"
Yeah.
And there's no way. Like, I love Jill more today than I ever have. I am happier in my marriage with her and I'm more holy in my marriage with her than I've ever been. The way it created an atmosphere in our home of transparency. Like, there's just so many things that I can't go back and be like, "Yeah, I didn't do it because I don't want to deal with the pain." I mean, the pain sucks, but look at the product later on. And I couldn't say that for the first couple of years. So don't take this as, well, it's easy for you to. No, this has been, I mean, like I said, we're going 15 years of this that we've been walking through it, and it's taken some time.
But land the plane on the episode for us. And I would encourage people, if you're listening and any of that resonates and just want to reach out and talk to you guys,
man, we would love it. I mean, that's what fuels us. Yeah. We've had multiple people reach out through Facebook, Instagram, email. I mean, whatever it is. I'll hop on a phone call if you're local in the DFW area, man. We'll grab some coffee, do whatever, and just have a conversation.
Yeah, please reach out, because, I mean, this is, like you said, God's going to use this and has used it to draw people to you who are in the same situation.
Yeah.
Man, I'd love it if you would end this with a prayer, and whatever the Lord lays on your heart for whoever may be listening, for whatever. But thank you again. I absolutely am so encouraged by your testimony, and the way you can present it so real and vulnerable now is super impressive to me, especially with how you started.
Yeah, it's definitely come a long way, but it's crazy how we even got connected.
I know.
Like, I don't know, like, for those of you that don't know, I got a phone call from somebody that said, after I had left a ministry that we were working in, we thought we were going to have a 20-year run at, and now we're kind of in this weird transition time. Somebody said, hey, I think you need to call this guy Josh Allen. The way it was told to me, call Josh Allen. He won't help your fantasy team, but he's a great guy. That was literally what I was told. And I said, man, I just didn't want to reach out. And so I reach out, and we have that phone call. And then you were like, hey, I don't know why, but I feel the Lord telling me to tell you that you need to go on this trip.
Yeah.
And that's really, I mean, you think about, we've only known each other since mid to end of September?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, really quick. But yeah, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
One, for your heart for this, your friendship, and just creating space for people to tell their stories and understanding that there's brokenness. We live in a Genesis 3 world, but there is redemption and healing and restoration. And it may not always look like how we painted it out. Like, I would have drawn my life completely different if I'd have put it on paper, but God. Like in Ephesians, but God. Like, I was, but God, so that. Like, that to me is our prayer, is that if you are here, but God and his grace and mercy, so that I can testify of his goodness. I mean, that's really what we're all about. I mean, your story is different than mine, but mine's not any more powerful than yours. It's just the Lord moved in both of our lives. We just have different stories, but you're going to be able to reach somebody with your past that I could never reach.
Yeah. Yep.
But I also have people in my past and with my story that you would never be able to reach, because that's what I was saying. God in his sovereignty is just woven this beautiful tapestry where he just puts things together in just an amazing way. And he never wastes a hurt. So you get to leverage what's happened in your life for his glory and to really see other people find some hope.
Yeah.
When everything about here, you know, everywhere you look says there is no hope, there is no hope. And
Well, that's what I love.
I just want to push against that.
Yeah. If we're not friends for 30 years, I'm going to be mad about that. So,
Me too, man.
praise to you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, Aaron.
Man, God, you're good. Just thank you for who you are. Thank you for your mercies that are new every day. Lord, I just thank you for your grace as I look at Josh's life, at my life, at just our stories, that you have been constantly faithful and constantly good, regardless of our own decisions. Like, you constantly step in and pursue, even when we try to run away. Once again, like C.S. Lewis says, the hound of heaven, that you chase us down. And so I thank you for all of that. I thank you for your love. I thank you for Josh and his friendship and just the opportunity to tell of how good you are. I pray for anyone that's listening, whether they're married, whether they're single, whether they're struggling, whether they're hurt and just don't know where to go, Lord, that they would find places to reach out. They would find places that truly want to step into the fray and love those that are hurting, and not see it as a task to be claimed, but rather a person to be loved into your kingdom. And Lord, I just pray that we would be open to the people that reach out, that even now you would prepare the hearts of the places on Sunday where people are going to come into worship. They're going to feel a little outside, a little neglected, a little shy about stepping in, Lord, but you would just prepare the hearts that they would be able to be transparent and honest and just receive love and receive guidance from you and just not be shunned away. Lord, let us be a welcoming people that love to step into the griminess of things, because that's where you're at. And we ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Aaron.
Dude, thank you so much for
Bless
having me.
you.
I appreciate it, bud.
Oh,
Thank you. This was fun.
awesome. All right.
All right.